I've just got a bit of preamble to read out in the way we conduct these face-to-face meetings. The meeting has been recorded for watchback on YouTube with a link on our website. And must advise that the camera does not pick up the public gallery whilst they are seated, nor close-ups on councillors. Therefore, facing toward the camera is important when addressing the chair or voting in order to be clearly seen by the camera. The microphone will pick up all dialogue and the public gallery are asked to remain quiet other than addressing the chair during the public questions. And I'll just ask, I think this, are you likely to ask any questions? No, in that case, I'll read out question one. Just by the way, you have to excuse me in case I'll pause because my glasses have a habit of steaming up. Right, we go on to item 2 on the agenda. That is apologies for absence.
We received apologies from Councillor Visser.
Okay, thank you very much. Item 3 is to receive the minutes of the meetings held on the 25th of March and 5th of May. And I've got to sign those off.
Once the committee agrees, Chair.
Oh, of course. Yeah, sorry. Well, I'd like to propose those. Can I have a second?
I'll second that, Chair.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Any comments on that? Anyone? No. Can I have a show of hands, please? Thank you. Before the agenda, to receive any declarations of interest. Has anyone got any declarations of interest? Councillor Matthews.
I haven't actually got an interest, but I'd like to ask a question. Being that we're socially distant, is it really necessary that we've got to wear a mask all through the meeting?
I'm afraid you're not 6 feet apart. If you were 6 feet apart, yes, you can take the mask off, but unfortunately you're not 6 feet apart. When we go to Ridging Hall, which isn't available tonight, I'm very hopeful we will get you 6 feet apart and then you'll be able to take the mask off once seated.
Because I find it most unpleasant.
Yes, thank you, Councillor Matthews. I agree with you. At the moment, I'm sweating under my mask. I know it's very uncomfortable, but to try and push on. Item 5 on the agenda is something I have to read out. By the way, can everyone hear me clearly? Or do I have to shout a bit more? Everyone happy at the back?
Yes.
Yeah. We're obviously back to face-to-face meetings. However, we are going to continue filming meetings for posting on the website, which means that there is no need for anyone to film, as there will be an official copy. Our aim is to have the recording on the website within 2 working days of the meeting. While we are still in a restricted position due to COVID, I would like to thank the staff who have adapted to home office working and maintained a high level of customer interaction, working collaboratively and innovatively with restrictions. So I'd like to thank the staff and the Town Clerk for organising this meeting tonight. Thank you. Item 6 is to receive the accounts for March, April and May 21. This is the usual approval of the payment schedules. So I would like to propose those. Can I have a second?
I'd like to second that.
Are there any questions on that? May I have a show of hands to approve, please? Thank you. Second. Item 7 on the agenda is the town council's finances position statement. Basically, this is for noting. If there are any questions, I'll pass that over to Dan. So, is there any questions on that agenda item? Councillor Spelsey.
Thank you. The year-to-date income. Sorry, am I on? Which page are you on? My printer hasn't printed this out terribly clearly.
It's item 7 on the agenda.
7. Yeah. Has the you've given the year-to-date income? Have we got a comparison with the previous year?
I don't have that figure to hand with me, but I can absolutely easily obtain that figure and let you have the answer for it.
Would you?
Yes,
I mean,
yeah,
just
no
to
problem.
see
Yeah, sure.
comparison between years. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
I also, if I may make a comment, it would have been useful to discuss the investment strategy at this point when we've got the finances in front of us, but that's a comment.
Thank you, Ms. Councillor Spelsey. Any other questions on that agenda item? That is for noting. Thank you. Agenda item 8 is performance indicators. And that's to receive a report on the current KPIs for invoices and absence. Then Mr. Chambers has the figures there, but once again, this is for noting. Is there any questions? Can we note that, please? It is noted. Item 9 on the agenda, recommendations from committee. The clerk, in consultation with the chair and vice chair, has a recommendation that the hire charges, which are in front of you, for the estate buildings be set for 2 years from April 22. And this was discussed at the advisory meeting of the AT committee and was supported to come through to this committee for approval. This decision has budgetary impacts for the income of the estate and therefore has to come through this committee for approval. And also papers have been circulated. Is that for noting that?
No, it's for approval.
That's for approval. So I would like to approve that. Now, the seconder, please.
I'd like to.
Can I have a show of hands to approve it unless there's any other questions? That's agreed. Item 10 on the agenda, delegated decisions have been none this quarter. Item 11 is the approval of the annual.
Sorry, that was my delegate, because we made yesterday.
There've been none.
I know, we made one yesterday, if you remember.
Oh, right, sorry. There's been one since the publication of the agenda, a delegated agreement to pay for the printing of the South Down buses, East Finchley bus timetable. The council asked for route 495 to be rerouted. It is a service that receives no subsidy and does not pay for itself, but it is a vital cross-town service for the 2 senior schools to and from school times. The clerk, in consultation with myself and the vice chair, has therefore agreed to pay for the timetable printing from the campaign initiatives budget, the cost of £297. This is for noting by the committee. Is that noted or do there any questions?
Noted.
Thank you. Item 11, that's approval of the annual review of the effectiveness of internal control. Actually, the committee are asked to note this report from the internal auditor regarding the 2021, which is an endorsement of the current practices. In addition, the committee have the opportunity to identify areas where they would wish included in the internal audit for 21-22. You have the report in front of you. Are there any questions? Councillor Whittaker.
Thank you, Chair. It's not a question, it's just a comment, and just to say it's a very, very comprehensive report as usual from Mark Marbury and Co. It's always very reassuring to get that because it doesn't just cover finance, lots of other procedures and protocols, and I think it's very pragmatic. So thank you to the town clerk and chambers once again for circulating that.
Thank you, councillor Richard. Yes, they served us very well. I don't know whether Mr. Chambers would like to comment on anything on that.
No, the only comment is in the report where it just says that I think during this year, during 2021, possibly in the September committee, that I think it should be considered to look at reapproving an internal auditor. I mean, it's a point worth making is that there isn't actually a legal requirement for a town council to have an internal audit at all. It is an optional thing. It's definitely good practice. I wouldn't recommend not having one. We have had Mulberry have been our auditors now, I think since 2015. So I think it's something that we need to look at whether we are going to market, finding a new internal auditor or reappointing Mulberry. But I think it's something that should be confirmed, so council have given their approval to appoint an internal auditor.
Thank you, Mr. Chambers. Any comments on that? I would like to propose that. No, second that.
I'd like to second that.
Thank you. Can I have a show of hands in favour? And this all agreed. Item 12 on the agenda is the annual return statement of annual accounts, unit 48, 18/6/2020. The reports included in the papers, which when combined with internal audit report, when considered together, give confidence to the committee to recommend the council reply to yes to question 1 to 8. The committee asked to recommend this to special council, which follows this meeting, to sign the papers as approved. I would like to propose those. Can I second that?
I'd like to second that.
Thank you. Are there any comments or questions on that? See no hands. So all in favour? That's agreed, town clerk. Thank you. Item 13 on the agenda is council's allowance claims. I think you've got papers in front of you for that. I would like to propose that. Do I have a seconder? Thank you. Any questions? No questions. Can I have a show of hands in favour of that? That's agreed, town clerk. Thank you. Move swiftly on to item 14, which is the annual staff and training report. 2021, minute 49, 18/6/2020. And this advises on the training undertaking, excuse me, and the statements as required under the transparency regulations for local councils regarding salaries. I would like to propose this report. Second that. Thank you, Vice.
Question, please, Chairman.
Oh.
We have got a question for this report.
Yeah, just to ask that, sorry. Are there any questions or comments? Councillor Amos.
Yeah, I have 2 questions. Why do 13 members of staff have to do first aid training? How much does that cost? And secondly, why do 17 members of staff have to do the manual handling training, including such individuals such as Mr. Chambers, who I don't think does that much manual handling in the office when he's dealing with the accounts?
Well, thank you, Councillor Amos. Well, I think that comes under the Health and Safety at Work Act, but I will pass over to the town clerk because I know she's got the adequate answers for you. I know myself, but I will allow the town clerk to answer you on that one.
Thank you, Chair. The cost of the training is £13.50 per person for each of, for both courses. They're both online, which obviously this year training has had to be online. Manual handling is something that is recommended as being carried out by the staff every 2 years. That is a best practice position. You would be surprised at how much manual handling the staff actually do. And Mr. Chambers, actually, I apologise, speaking on lockdown, but actually looks after all of his own archiving in the basement. So if you haven't been to the basement, very happy to take it down and show you sometime, because you'll see that there's an awful lot of there's files down there, there's box files down there, there's quite a lot of things. You have to wait for them. However, if you do manual handling calls, you'll find out that actually, so even so much as that you can put it back out by picking a pen up off the floor. So it's about making sure that our staff know the correct way of picking any item up below them, and making sure that they don't do something like put their back out, which ultimately could cost the council an awful lot more in staff time being off sick. So it's about ensuring staff know how to correctly move things around, all staff. Move barriers, all staff, support things like we support live, so Remembrance Day, so they're all moving things around, telling things about, I've moved a barrier out there this evening, start meeting, so they have some weight to them, so that's why, that's why everybody goes through the course, and it is recommended we do it every 2 years. Normally, we get somebody in, and they do it, in the Meridian Hall, and it obviously works out at a day rate, but we couldn't do that because it was online course this year. If I answer the second question first, yeah. First aid, well, again, we've had many occasions in the past year where we've had very few staff in the building, so we're going to make sure that we are able to look after each other, which is the important thing with regards to being an employer. So this is not full-blown first aid training. This is first aid awareness for office workers, if you like. So it does take you through the type of things you do. I remember doing when I was in the scouts and guides and things like that. So it does take you through resuscitation, choking, takes you through giving burns, takes you through shock, takes you through. It does go through some things like heart attack as well. But what it doesn't do is it doesn't equip you to be a first aider or a first responder with regards to them responding to somebody who needs help. This is an awareness, and again, it is something that is recommended and is carried out for office-based staff these days. That's it, Chair.
Thank you. I will allow you to come back one more time, Councillor Stoff's.
The total cost of these two programs is about over £300. Why can't all this stuff be learned on YouTube? I'm absolutely certain, even without looking, that all of this information is on YouTube, and it will cost nothing whatsoever. And if you're going to get those certificate from this, as I understand it, then why can't one of your officials put together a YouTube video list for people to watch? Because they'll pay just as much attention to that as they will do, I suspect, to an online training course, or probably a little bit less because of the YouTube video. But it's worth it, given you're spending, or you would be spending, less than £300 less than taxpayers' money.
Can I answer that, Town Clerk? That's right, Ross. You need practical experience. I mean, I was in the fire service for 28 years, and I've used that on real people. So without the proper training, without the physical training, we used to use a resuscitation for compressions, that's what she was called. And that will give you where to put your fingers below the sternum to give resuscitation. You can't do that on YouTube. You need to do it practically. Same with manual handling. You need to practice it in real life. So I'm afraid that's the answer to that one. Tell me.
Mr. Chairman, do you mind if I ask a supplementary question on first aid requirement? It's to do with the young man who nearly lost his life last week playing for Denmark, and in a very similar situation in which I actually lost mine. And I was just wondering if there is anywhere that there is a list pointing people in the direction of where the defibrillators can be found, or if we could actually highlight this in the light of what happened there to make sure that everybody is aware of these facts. Thank you.
Sorry, Town Clerk, if I'm right in replying to that, if you dial 999, they redirect you to the nearest defibrillator and give you a code for opening it.
Good advice. Thank you very much, Town Leader.
If I can just add a little bit
Yes,
to
of course,
that.
sorry.
The reason we don't have this, and we had a long conversation about this when we first started placing defibrillators around town, is that apparently, sadly, that for some people, defibrillators have got a good, jolly good second-hand value, and therefore telling them all where they are is not the thing to do. So, the chair is absolutely correct. The advice is in the immediate immediacy of needing of assistance 999, and you will get through to the ambulance service very quickly, and they will tell you where they are, and they're all registered with the ambulance service. They know where they are, they give you the code, and they tell you where to get to it. So
Excellent.
we're
Thank you very much. Very comprehensive question.
Any other questions? I have none. So we've already proposed and seconded that one. May I have a show of hands to approve, please? That's agreed. Thank you, Town Clerk. Right. So give me 1 second. Right, item 15 on the agenda is the investment strategy. The committee we were asked to consider the council's current investments. The responsible finance officer and the clerk are concerned as to the level of reserves in the National Counties Building Society at 500,000. And in line with considering risk and reward, it is suggested to move some of this sum to other accounts and give it a better protection and to increase income. The CCLA property fund has shown to be the better investment, and it is proposed to increase the level of that investment in that fund by £150,000. So the £175,000 invested into a proposed new account with a building society with a AAA rating, leaving £175,000 in the National Counties Building Society. This is proposed. The only downside is immediate access to the CCLA fund, as it would has a longer lead time. But I'll hand over to Mr. Chambers if he would like to explain that. But first, I would like to propose that, and I have a second.
I'd like to second that, Chair.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Just one point worth noting. I apologise, on the report, there is a typo in the recommendation where it says committee are asked to consider the reallocation. That is meant to say £500,000. So yeah, apologies for the typo. Yeah, with regards to the investment, I think just as the chair said, we have £500,000 with the national counties. They are very highly rated with the credit rating agencies, but it's still a considerable sum of money for an organisation of an authority of our size to have with one particular bank or building society. As with any investment, it's a balance between risk and reward. And of course, you know, you want the rewards, but I think the overarching thing is you have to be very mindful of any risk. So it'd be easy to think, well, let's just put £500,000, let's put it into the CCLA, which has got a yield of currently about 4.1% per annum, which is far exceeding anything that you'll get from a bank or building society at the moment. The issue with the CCLA is it's basically it's an investment. It's just for local authorities and charities, the CCLA, and they invest the money, all of the money that they have, and the charities and local authorities invested in UK commercial property. Hence, it being is basically you're just investing in property. The downside with the CCLA is that your capital, it doesn't work like a bond, in as much as your capital isn't necessarily secure and protected. You could, in theory, lose it if the property market was to crash horrendously. Theoretically, you could lose it. Hence, the current proposal, as the chair said, which is of the £500,000, to add 150,000 to the property fund, taking that investment with them up from the current 150 up to 300, and then 350 that's left with the national counties, basically split that, so 175 stays with the national counties and 175 goes with another bank or building society, just to try and mitigate some of the risk of having it all in one place.
Are there any questions? I thought, did I? Councillor Spelson.
Thank you. Can I just go over what is the sum you're suggesting we switch? Is it 550,000 or 500,000?
So, yeah, we currently have 500,000
Yes.
with the national counties.
Yes,
I'm proposing we keep 175
yep,
still with the national counties,
yep,
move 150
yep.
into the local authority property fund,
Is that making it 300?
making that 300, we
Right.
currently have 150 there.
Yes,
And then the other 175 into another bank or building society similar to the national counties.
right. And what, the local authority is the one that we have no guarantee.
That's correct.
That's correct.
Yeah.
I think we've discussed this before over the years, and we were hesitant because of the previous history of these. So is there any guarantee on this money at all?
There is no guarantee, no, I mean, ultimately, no, is the short answer.
Like, it's not a government
No,
insurance.
No.
Not at all.
and it is, the only other thing worth saying on the CCLA is it definitely is a long-term investment. So you wouldn't want to be putting money in there if council thought it was going to be required or needed in, it's at least a minimum of a 5-year investment, you know, probably you're looking at more like a 10-year.
I understand that, but we
investment.
still risk in 300,000 of the residents' money in that fund.
Absolutely, absolutely, and it is just a balance of risk and reward. I mean, you could have nothing in it, you could put it all in there.
Right. And can I ask why, I know it's 45-day account, and that was the business, it's a very high amount we have in it. Could some of that not be transferred to the national counties? 0.1% is minimal, but obviously the national counties is giving you 0.80. Is the fact, is the 45-day that you need it, is it?
No, it's not that. It's the money that we currently have with NatWest is
Yeah.
essentially, it's like, it's basically sort of our working capital.
Yes.
So we are drawing down on that money,
Okay.
not daily, but on a month. It's used, that money is there to pay,
Okay, that's right.
salaries,
It's a
supplies,
working
etc. It's a working capital, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
I think just to reiterate, Ms. Thomas, it's equally risk in the building society, isn't it? To a certain extent, I think.
Arguably, there's a level of risk to, yeah, anything, yeah.
There is obviously national, there is the government guarantee on money that's in the building societies, but only to a certain level. And of course, if the money goes, if the building society folds, it folds.
Yeah,
I'm not sure what the level of
it's-
support is from the government on that.
The FCA protects any investment up to £85,000.
So if that building society went south, yes, we would, 85 would be guaranteed, would be protected, the rest would be lost.
Councillor Peacock, sorry, Deputy Town Mayor.
Okay, thank you, Chairman. I think it's the right thing to do to look at how we invest our £500,000 that are sat there effectively not attracting interest. If you look at the numbers, a 4% increase could effectively 150,000 equate to £8,000 a year, which is nearly a 1% rise in the precept. So I think it's the right idea to be looking at it. It then raises what about the funds we're investing in. Now you've said it's the property fund, it's commercial property. Do you know which sectors they invest in? Is it retail, is it office, is it warehousing, distribution? And how over the last 12 months that has performed? First question is obviously with COVID working from home in the retail situation, dips may have returned. Second question, that 4.1%, is that recent or is it old? And yeah, they're the two questions I have. Thank you.
Yeah, so the local authority property fund is, it's basically, it's a diversified portfolio of commercial property. It's largely invested in sort of industrial sites, warehouses and offices, a few retail sites and so on. So it's quite a diverse, portfolio. The 4.1% quoted, that was the return from our £150,000. The yield was 4.1% in the last financial year, just ended.
So sorry, Chairman, to April 21.
Yes, to 31st of March, from April 20 to March 21,
it returned 4.1%.
Yes,
Sorry, Joe. And follow up, can you just give a layman's outline of how it physically works? Because I've privately I've invested in a similar fund. Just
Yeah.
wondering how this works. Obviously, it's a 5-year investment minimum potentially.
Yeah.
Just what's the basic mechanics of it?
It's a good question. I'll be honest, I don't know the details or mechanics of it. Other than I get sent or issued a statement quarterly, which again, I'm more than happy to put in the papers, going forwards. That statement, it always gives you, like it's called the mid-market value of basically what your capital investment is worth at that particular point in time.
Set against assets, I guess, in some way.
Yes, yes. Now on the last quarterly report I had, the actual capital, the 150,000, I think was worth, if we decided that we wanted to contact and say, we want out of this, we want our money back, we would get back £147,000. So, you can see the capital does dip, imagine on the graph, it will dip down slightly, but hence the idea that it is a minimum of a 5-year investment, if not a 10-year investment, for the trajectory to go up.
any other questions? I have no other questions. Can we vote for that? Please, all those in favour? So that's carried.
Working group.
And item 16 on the agenda is earmark reserves. The committee will be asked to consider reallocating some of the earmark reserves which are underspent for projects unlikely to come to fruition. The report contains the proposals and the committee are asked to agree for tidying up of the accounts and supporting existing projects with the reallocation of funds. I'm quite happy to propose that on the sector. Thank you, Vice Chair. Are there any questions? I think you have the papers in front of you. Councillor Whitaker.
Thank you, Chairman. Yeah, the youth facility proposed reallocation, is a very good idea. We know in the town there's since the demise of the Wallace Centre that burned down a few years ago, and we know that a lot of us have interest in youth projects and facilities. And I know Councillor Bennett from this council is championed the original allocation at St Luke's. So just wondered if that could be, are there any specific projects in mind for that from the new community and tourism manager? I think it's alluded to.
Okay, I'll pass to the town clerk, but it's asked to go into the revenue earmark reserves for the use of general youth activity. The town clerk, would you like to remark?
Thanks, Mr. Chair. Yeah, I've gone hard about this because I'm very aware of the history of this and the federal council said that she was very keen this money be retained. And of course, all the history that's gone on since with St Luke's and the Wallace Centre. So I didn't want to lose the money from youth support, but at the same time, £9,500 is never going to provide a new youth facility in the town. So that's why I thought if we turned it into a revenue earmark reserve, so it will still have to be spent on youth activity, then we can hopefully look to do something with it. And I haven't got any specific ideas at the moment. We've got lots of thoughts about maybe doing some targeted work with youngsters in need. We've got thoughts around fun and events and meeting rooms and meeting things like cafe nights and what have you. So we're really looking at developing some type of a program which wants to work with the new community and tourism manager, look at developing some type of youth support program, which is something I think the town needs. But obviously we will be bringing that back into the committee so that we can agree anything before we do it. But yeah, it's to try to do something really useful with that money, and it may just be a fund primer that we may have to go to other funding for to support. This is just the, if you like, the seedling money, so to try to think about doing a real project program around youth support in the town.
Thank you. Any more questions on that? So, all those in favour? That's agreed. 10 o'clock. Thank you. I'll move on to item 17, which is the working groups. Let's approve the working groups 21, 22. I hope I haven't made any mistakes and kept everyone happy on that one. I would like to, they obviously are again in front of you with the papers. I would like to propose that. Second, thank you, Vice Chair. Any comments on the working groups? Councillor Whitaker.
Thank you, Chairman. Yeah, it's just a comment to say that the Planning and Economic Development Group, the District Council recently set up a new working group on this very subject. They had their first meeting, and I think that Councillor Vista and Councillor Matthews hopefully should be part of that consultation process with the district through the town clerk at the appropriate time over the next 4 or 5 months. But that work is ongoing at the district, and I think it's pertinent that East Grinstead as a tier 1 category, got a lot going on, and potentially in the planning world, is part of that debate. Just a comment.
Thank you for that. It's no good comment. I have no other questions. All those in favour? Agreed.
Sorry, can my hands again?
Sorry, can we show hands again? Yeah, just agreed. That is the end of the business. It was a great pleasure to see us all here again at East Court. And I'll close this meeting at, was it 30?
38.
38. And advise the next meeting of the committee will be held on 16 September 21.
Asking the speakers to remain in your seats for a moment.
Make sure I've got this right.
Perfect.
In this special meeting of the Town Council at 7:20, sorry, 7:40. As we have a quorum, we can proceed. And as I understand it, at the moment, we only have one apology, which is Councillor Julie Montford, Mrs. Julie Montford. Who's had a catch-up operation?
Councillor Vista as well.
And Councillor Vista. Okay, can I have a vote to accept the apologies of Councillor Vista, who's
Childcare duties tonight.
Roger? Can I propose that we accept Councillor Vista and Councillor Mrs. Montford's apologies. Can I have a show of hands to support that? Also, can I have a second, please?
I second that.
Bless you, thank you very much. How's the practice going? Can I have a show of hands? Thank you so much indeed. Item 2, we're not having any question time tonight because I was looking for what you drew. Okay, thank you very much indeed. And therefore we'll move straight on to item 2 to formally resolve the annual return comprising the statement of accounts for 2021 financial year the annual review of effectiveness of internal control, and the annual internal audit report to full council, following formal recommendations of the Finance and General Purposes Committee, agenda items 11 and 12, 17th of the 6th, 2021. I propose 1, to approve the annual governance and accountability return for 2021 by A, confirming yes to questions 1 to 8 and not applicable to questions 9 as set out, to question 9 as set out in the annual governance statement, section 1, containing appendix E of the F&GP committee papers as 17th of 6/21, and to agree that this now be signed by the chairman and the town clerk. May I have a second, please?
Second that, Town Mayor.
Thank you very much indeed, Deputy Town Mayor. Does anyone wish to speak on this? Thank you very much, Councillor.
Thank you, Town Mayor. I'd like to propose a vote of thanks to Town Clerk, Mr. Chambers and Mr. Greenall for excellent financial management over the year and communication of the papers prior to this meeting. In a particularly difficult year with COVID, very awkward and very difficult circumstances. So thank you very much for all you've done.
So, nobody else wants to raise a question, can I vote on that? Thank you very much indeed. Thank you. Thank you. And the second recommendation from F&GP is B. According to the accounting statement section 2, accounting statement section 2 is set out in appendix F of the F&GP committee papers of 17th of the 6/21. Thank you very much, Deputy Town Mayor. Does anyone wish to speak on this? In that case, can I have a show of hands, please? Thank you very much indeed. The date of the next full town council meeting is Monday, the 5th of July at 7 o'clock in Meridian Hall. Thank you, and I would like to end this meeting at 7:45.